you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
This is Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, there are latest things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you. Doesn't judge as harshly as the rest of the world because, hey, you're here in the family of the Chris Voss Show. And we know you're here to get better, improve the quality of your life. Why? My jokes aren't that good. Why would you want to listen to those? But if you want to make your life worse, we're the wrong podcast for that. We make your life better. Hey, help make the world better. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. Tell them Chris Voss sent you.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today we have an amazing new young lady on the show with us. She's got several books we're going to talk about. Her book we'll lead off with is entitled My New Home and Me by Holly Seaver. She's going to be joining us on the show and getting into all the deets about her books, as the kids say. I don't think the kids say that, but I just make it up. Anyway, Holly Seaver is a Christian wife, mom of multiracial and multicultural adoptive family, foster mom, and children's book author. Her writing is inspired by her family's lived experiences. All the profits from her books are donated to organizations that help kids. Welcome to the show. How are you, Holly?
Thank you. Very, very thrilled to be here.
And we're thrilled to have you. Give us your .coms, websites, emails, social media. Where do you want people to get to know you better on the web?
I am on Instagram, Holly Ralph Seaver. I'm on Facebook, Holly Ralph Seaver, and on TikTok too. Holly Seaver, yes.
The TikTok, man, that thing's getting really, it's been popular for a while. I said, it's getting really popular. But no, it's been going good. We had somebody yesterday who I think was on selling protein bars and with their company, and they're healthy. And they've been just making bank on TikTok, where usually you used to have to fight for shelf space in retail. So it's just wild what you can do over there. Tell us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this book, My New Home and Me?
There it is, right here, My New Home and Me. I wrote this because a friend of mine who is also a Christian foster and adoptive mom said, wouldn't it be great if we had a book about children coming into foster care, coming into a new home, coming into a home that's the configuration's very different than their own, and the family members are very different than their own, and maybe it's multicultural and multiracial, and talk about the nervousness that the kids go through when they're coming into foster care. And it would be great to have a book that shows them that it's going to feel nervous in the beginning, but you're going to find wonderful people there that are going to care about you and love you. And you're going to form a different kind of family. And that's okay.
And this is an important transition. This child is dealing with the loss of their parents in some format or another, right? Being abandoned maybe, or feeling rejected, or whatever sort of issues go home. And it's a hard transitional period, I'm sure. You're like, who are these new people? And you're wanting to be accepted, because that's kind of how you are as a kid. You're not really, I'll just go live my own life now. I'm 5 years old. I think I tried that at 5. So now you tell the story with 5 children going to homes that are different than their own. Tell us how that plays out.
They're all very interesting. We have an Asian girl, we have a Caucasian child, we have a redheaded kid that goes into a Hispanic home. We have a boy, a tween with dreadlocks that probably came from an urban setting and is going to live on a farm. And then a Caucasian girl that goes into a Black family, an African-American family. So they have to deal with the home configuration. The home is much bigger than theirs. Maybe they lived in an apartment, now it's a house, and they're meeting all new people. They're in a place they've never been before. They're with people they've never been before, and we wanted to explore that from the through the eyes of the children. How does that feel to them? But give them a happy ending, that there's going to be people there that are going to love you and care for you. And when I first wrote the book, I thought the book was primarily for foster and adopted families, but the book has more of a reach than that. What if children are moving into a blended family and they're going to spend half the time with one parent, half the time with another parent? They're in a new home. They've got new people that they're going to be living with. What if kids are, which happens very often in this country right now with the opiate problem, what if the kids are moving in with grandma and grandpa?
Oh, yeah.
And now they're going to raise them, and their home is going to be very different. We just wanted to put it out there. Sometimes I have a wonderful story, a lived experience story. We have 2 older children that we have adopted that are African American. And then we took in another little child for foster care, and we ended up adopting her too. But in the beginning, she used to call our older adopted child, that brown girl. That brown girl said, and that brown girl said this because she had never lived in a home with African American people. Maybe never even been all that exposed to different races and cultures. But now, instead of that brown girl, she calls her sister.
And so that's important to learn some of these lessons, because racism is taught to children. It's not something that's a part of them when they come together. But yeah, these can be different aspects. You've got different people from walks of life, and maybe that can help too with going to school. My parents, they moved around a little bit when I was young, and it was hard going to new schools and meeting new people and different kind of, not really cultures, but I don't know. Utah does have its own culture. So yeah, it was a culture. Moving from California to Utah will give you some head whip and shock. These are really important aspects of what happens with children, and giving them a book where they can understand it in their format of something very simple and easy to understand. They're not going to read War and Peace at 5 years old. There might be some kids that do. So good for them. Get out and touch some grass, folks, as the gaming kids say. See the sunlight. But no, reading War and Peace would be a little long for a 5-year-old. But I'm glad there's something like this. Now, tell us a little bit about your background. You're a proponent of foster care and doing some of that. Tell us about how you got into that and how that's developed for you into these books.
I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse, and I came into nursing late in life. Excuse me, but I started working at an addiction recovery facility, and I loved my work there. I love seeing people take the step to make a positive change in their life. So when the patients would come in and I would admit them into the facility, I would make small talk with them just so they would feel comfortable, because they were nervous going there. And I would say to them, oh, where are you from? And what's your family like? And that kind of thing. And I would say to them, and do you have any children? And most of the time when they said, yes, I have children, I said, where are the kids? And the kids many, many times were in foster care. And it just broke my heart to think that the opiate problem is not just, not just for the patient specifically, but it's also for it's like a pebble in a pond. There's rings, and it reaches every aspect of their family. So my husband and I are empty nesters. And we had a house with the kids were all grown up and gone. And I started thinking, maybe we could do this. Maybe we could do some foster care. And we thought about it for a long time, and it was just something that just wouldn't leave my mind. And I started finding other people in our age group, because we're grandparents, that were doing foster care. And I thought, if they could do it, we could do it. So we started out, and we did some very short-term foster care in the beginning, kids that might have been removed from mom and dad, but then they were going to move to grandma's house, but grandma had to buy a bed or something.
Oh, wow. So
it would be a very interim step for them. So we had kids anywhere from, the first year we had kids anywhere from 2 or 3 days to a month. And we really liked it. We liked meeting the kids. We would make them feel comfortable. Come on in. We live near the beach. We'll go and do fun things. And we want you to feel very comfortable and very happy while you're here. Yeah. So then after about a year, I think my husband went a little crazy one night and said, why don't we do some long-term foster care and have the kids for a longer period of time, get into a routine with them, get to know the kids better. And we did. And we took in 3 girls. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. We just loved them from the day they came in, and we had them for 9 months, and they were able to go home.
Oh, really?
That's the goal of foster care, is that you're able to go home. Mom did what the Department of Children and Families was asking of her. She did it. And the kids were able to go home, and now we're friends with them. So we're like extended family, and it's just wonderful. It's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Foster care.
Yeah, it's almost like being grandparents. You take care of them and send them home again after a while or something. It's one of those things. So do you speak? Do you tour? Do you talk to people? You advocate online or advocate in many ways to teach people about the benefits of foster care and
yes. I've been able to speak locally. We live on Cape Cod, and I've been able to speak locally about it. And like I said, there's a lot of grandparents. It's an older a region that really attracts a lot of retirees, and a lot of grandparents and aunts and uncles are taking in their grandchildren because of the opiate problem. Yeah. So I speak locally, and then I was able to last May speak on the PBS show Stories from the Stage. And that was wonderful. And I went on there and was able to tell them about foster care and about that particular situation, that it's not terrible. Foster care isn't awful. You can do it. And you, like you said, you can be like extended family to these kids, and you can give them a good time, and you can make them feel happy and stable while they're with you.
Do you recommend I don't know if is it called temporary foster, where you're housing some folks, maybe their family's going through something, or like you said, drug addiction and or permanent foster care? Is that a thing? I don't understand the parameters of that. So
I know there's people, like, especially in this society right now with what's going on with immigration, there's people that are taking in families that are in danger of being deported. But we haven't done that. We just do the kids.
Yeah. I know there's some kids have been left behind too, and that's been an issue. But how big is the need for people to provide foster care? Is there enough people out there yet, or? It's
enormous. It's absolutely enormous. Whenever one child would leave, we'd get another phone call immediately, taking somebody else. It's enormous. But a lot, like I said, a lot of grandparents, and I have to give the grandparents props for this. There's a lot of grandparents stepping up to the plate and taking care of these children. Yeah. And I'm so proud of my generation for doing that.
Yeah, that's really good. There's another thing you could write about in one of your books that's becoming really huge that I just became aware they have a term for it. It's so huge. It's called the sandwich generation. That's what they're calling millennials and I guess some Gen Xers. But basically, it's people who are sandwiched between taking care of small children and taking care of their parents.
Yes.
And a lot of times they're having to move them in. Maybe you could do a book on what grandma or grandpa moves into the house and Alzheimer's and dementia. It's a sad thing.
Additional.
Yeah. And so they call it the sandwich generation because they're stuck between two pieces of people they have to take care of. And it's like a double duty because raising kids is hard.
It is hard.
Yeah. Every now and then you have to unchain them, let them out of their cells, and let them do the chores. And then before they have to, you feed them some slaughter, and they put them away. I'm just kidding, folks. That's not legal. Don't call CPS. I don't have kids. That's why. Anyway, they won't let me keep them in like I keep my dogs in crates. That's probably a good thing. But yeah, these folks take care of small kids, and then sometimes you've got another toddler walking around the house. It's dementia and Alzheimer's. It's gotten really bad. It's awful. And so you're dealing with two people who don't have a clue what's going on, including probably yourself, because that's where I'd be if I was stuck in that. But yeah, this is evidently becoming a big thing. People are living longer than they've ever lived in human history. And sadly, our brains aren't quite keeping up with it. We've got these things that you do. We need to have care and compassion for everyone. There's a second book I think we want to profile on the show, and that's called Jack and Max, The Happy Home, a Foster Care Story by you. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
That was the first book that I wrote on foster care and adoption, and I didn't even write the book. It's a true story of how we got our two cats. that they came. One of them was living on the street, so he was in a very unsafe environment, and he went into a home with a very nice lady, and then one day she brought in another little cat, and they became bonded brothers. And then one day the lady couldn't keep them anymore, and they went into a shelter, so they were with lots of other cats. But one day they got in a car and took a very long ride and came to Cape Cod, and became their forever home. So I realized that in taking in foster kids, this was very much like what the kids go through. One child that we had for a while was telling me, oh, I've been in a bunch of different homes, which is very unfortunate, but sometimes it happens. And I said, oh, let me tell you the story of my cats. They bounced from here to there to their forever home. And I said, that's the goal for you, to find your forever home. So I tell them that story to give them hope, to encourage them, and to let them know there's light at the end of the tunnel. And all my books are illustrated by my granddaughter. She does a beautiful job with them. Very, very nice job. And the books are not only for the kids that are going through the situation in their life, it's also for their friends. Maybe their friends are living in an intact mom and pop, Ozzie and Harriet type of home, and everything's wonderful, and they don't always think about what somebody else is going through. So I want their friends, their peers, to have empathy and to be kind to everyone. That somebody comes into their school in the middle of the school year. Why are they here? What happened? Why did they have to move? Excuse me. And so I wanted their peers to understand that different people have different circumstances, and you can still be friends, and you can certainly be kind, because kindness doesn't cost anything.
Yeah. It's better to get along than not get along. That's what we find recently in wars we like to start in 2026. I think we're effing around and finding out. Both these books are ways to help people understand foster care. If people are foster care curious out there, I guess I'll call it, for comedy's sake, I'm foster care curious. What are some of the things that maybe you need to have that would qualify someone? So if someone's out there thinking about foster care, what are some of the qualifications they want to have, or maybe a setup financially, et cetera, et cetera?
It's different in every state. So you would have to go to your state Department of Children and Families and ask them. There's usually a class you go through so you can learn a little bit about what goes on with these kids. Some of them come from very traumatized backgrounds, and some of them really don't. They might not have understood what was going on in their home that made them have to go into foster care. So you'll get training, have some empty rooms in your house. Maybe have a little extra money because they're not going to pay you much. Oh, wow. And love kids, just love kids. When my husband and I became empty nesters, we just missed the kids so much. Yeah. Some of the kids are uppity, and they went and moved to another state. Yeah. So we didn't get to have as many grandchildren around as we want. So now we have kids around all the time. And get to have fun.
Cut those other kids out of the will that moved away.
I taught them independence, and now I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of the way. It used to be different, where people moved in their locale, but I guess Levittown, all the 60s suburbia stuff, got everybody moving about the country. And then they call you and go, hey, can you babysit the kids? And you're like, you live 500 miles away from me. I'm not going to have them. I got my own kids now.
I've gotten on a plane or in a car and gone and babysat.
I just realized, shit, I should have been a parent, because then I could have threatened to put my kids up for adoption and bring in new kids. And I could have used this whole adoption thing as a way to keep them in line. I could have been like, Dad read Holly's book, My New Home and Me, and he can probably get someone to do the chores. Some adoptive kid is going to be like, I'll do chores, please stop me. Meanwhile, I got you. And so I can just ship you off to a Chinese organ harvester and give me a new BMW and adopt me a replacement. I would have been threatening that all the time. My dad would threaten violence with the belt. And he'd start unratcheting his belt. And that was a sign. Or he'd just shake it. And you're like, okay, we're at that moment. It's time to comply. Or sometimes you're like, let's roll the dice and see what happens, because you're a kid. You're just like, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how much gumption the old man's got chasing me around the house with a belt. But I could have just extorted him with, hey, we can trade you out at any time. There's a whole mess of those. What was that black and white movie with the kid who goes, can I have some more porridge, please? Oliver? Was it Oliver?
Oliver.
Yeah, I just play that movie for him every time they were being shits or when they got to be teenagers. I'm like, that could be you.
That's right. Don't ask for any more Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that kid's going to mow the lawn, do the dishes, and yeah, that's why you have kids, is so you can have your own slave team. That's why I missed out. Anyway, don't do that, folks. These are jokes. Don't write me. So, Holly, anything more you want to talk about on the show while we have you here?
The books are available on Amazon. They're also, if bookstores are interested, they're available on Ingram Sparks. And like I said, they're not just for the kids that are going through this themselves, but it's to inspire empathy and understanding in their friends. It's a wonderful resource for teachers. It's a wonderful resource for counselors. When I got to read the book at my kids, at their elementary school, the school counselor came up to me and asked me about the book. And she said, I could use that book. That book is something that I can talk to kids about and just give them a lesson about or talk about the subject of being inclusive and also inclusive with whatever situations these kids are going through, foster care, adoption, grandparent, raised children, or even a multicultural, multiracial. This is something I can use to talk to the kids to inspire kindness and empathy in them.
Yeah. It's and the kids that are welcoming, the kids that maybe are the native kids or kids that are there before the other people are joining in the adoption process, it can help them understand what these kids are maybe going through, what they're coming from. Because you just move in and you're like, hey, what's up? And yada, yada, yada. And so, yeah, these are really important things. So any future books coming out, maybe you're working on?
Yes, I have another book that I'm working on right now. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. This is going to be a book for tweens or maybe young adults. And it's going to be from their perspective, not from a younger child's perspective of the idea of foster care and adoption. And thank goodness I have a 13-year-old adopted daughter.
On a test case.
What would you say in this situation? What's the language you would use in this situation? What would your attitude be? We're going to have a lot of attitude in the book.
Attitude.
We're going to have a lot of funny stories, a lot of touching stories. And of course, I could take the stories right out of my own lived experience with these children. There's some funny things that really happened. And then it's going to be very touching, in there as well, having a foster child come into your home. And it can get a little emotional sometimes with the other children that are there. So how they're going to progress through that. And it's really based on the situation, the 3 girls that I had for foster care that I had for 9 months and got to go home. So it's based off of that and then throw in some other funny stories as well. So I'm hoping it's going to be touching and funny, and it'll be something that'll open some kids' eyes to, wow, this is what this child is going through. And this is what their home is like. And like I said, hopefully inspire empathy and kindness.
Yeah, we need more of that. We need to understand there's people that go through these journeys. And doing it as a teenager in foster care is really hard because you're dealing with your emerging ego, who you are and stuff, and it's a confusing world. Then you're dealing with all the angst of growing up as a teen and peer pressure and trying to fit in and all those crazy things you're doing. And then you've got puberty, and so you're dealing with all that, and suddenly girls or boys or whatever was your thing, and you're like trying to navigate that. It's a lot to take on in junior high and high school. It's a lot. Being a child is kind of easy, but once all that other stuff kicks in, it's kind of starts really complexing things. In fact, I just like to go back to playing with my Tonka trunks in the dirt, please. Can I just do that? And I don't have to worry about dating and marrying and getting a job and bills. And wait, this sounds like a really good deal. I've been doing this wrong the whole time. Anyway, so yeah, it's. How did you know when you knew you could write writing a book for the first time?
I had no idea.
You could pull that off.
I had no idea. Of course, I've gone through school and in college, and you have to write a lot. They make you do that. But the stories that I started out with were just lived experiences, what happened with the cats and how I could apply that to the foster kids. And then My New Home and Me was a suggestion from a dear friend. And so that's how we came up with that one. And what I do with the books, I don't take a profit from these books at all. It's a wonderful local organization, and people know this. People who foster in different parts of the country, they know this as well. There's usually a what we call a foster closet in your area, and these are people who run an organization where there's gently used or brand new clothing, socks, shoes, everything from babies up till adults that a foster family, a kinship family, grandparent-raised family, adopted family can come in and get whatever they need. Sometimes as a foster parent, you've got to call in the morning, hey, you're getting a kid in the afternoon. And you're like, oh my gosh. And they come in with nothing. They don't have any clothing or anything. So these foster closets are invaluable to foster families. And the foster closet that helped me the most living here on Cape Cod is the Cape Cod Foster Closet. They're just wonderful, wonderful to me. I would go in there if we took in a new child, and I could walk out with a whole season full of clothes for that child. Wow. And I didn't have to spend the money. I didn't have to do the shopping. The kids can come in themselves, pick out the clothing, pick out what they want. And those organizations are just a lifeline for foster and adoptive families.
That is awesome. That is awesome. It's very important that we have stuff like that. Is there any ways people can contribute in some way either to support and clothing or finances or stuff like that? Is there anything they can do to donate or any charities or anything like that?
Absolutely. Yep. Look for your local foster closet in your area. Ask around. There's probably one in every region in the country. And if there's not, and you're a little entrepreneurial, maybe you could start one. But there's always, even if you don't foster, there's always ways to help out a foster or adopted family or a grandparent raising a grandchild. Cook them a meal. Give them a gift card. Treat them to an activity, a family fun activity that they might not be able to afford because all of a sudden they're parents again and they weren't counting on this at all. So just give them a hand. Ask them what they could, what kind of help they can use. Even if you don't foster and adopt, there's many ways to help out.
Most definitely. It's an important thing. Rising tide lifts all boats. There's some really great kids that have come from foster care and issues with home. And sometimes that gives them a much more bigger drive to do more or to try and excel. They're trying to, of course, make their place in the world. And sometimes you have to grow up a whole lot quicker doing that. And it gives them the ability to have that support. Yeah, is being supportive. What are some misnomers, some misinformation maybe that people have about foster care that maybe isn't true and would be helpful if they knew it wasn't, maybe?
A lot of people think, I don't want to take in these children, they're trouble. Well, they're going to be a little unstable when they come into some brand new person's home. But for the most part, like I said, you can just be their extended family. When they come into you make them feel at home. Here's your bedroom. And do you like the colors in here? Maybe we could change the colors, give you a new comforter. Do you have some pictures of your family? Let's put them up around your room. What are your favorite foods? Let's go shopping and get your favorite foods. What do you like to do? Do you like to go for walks, or do you like to go for bike rides, or you want to just play in the backyard? Tell me what you like, and then we'll make this feel like home for you, the home away from home. And we're going to make you feel comfortable while you're here. Right now, we're a different kind of family. And that's what you want to make the kids feel like. They're going to be safe. They're going to be welcomed. We're going to make them feel valued. We'll introduce them to some kids in the neighborhood. We'll take them and check out their new school or whatever it is. Maybe take them to church, to Sunday school, and meet some kids there. So you want to have the kids are coming in. This is not their choice. That's the thing that really gives you empathy for these children. This is not their choice. They didn't want to be removed from mom and dad and wherever they were living.
All they've ever known.
even if it was not a good situation for them, sometimes they're not even aware of that why did I have to leave? Why couldn't I stay there? So and mom and dad love me. Yes, they do. And they're working through some stuff right now. And so we're going to be here for a little while they're working for things, but they really love you. And we're so glad you're here. We're so glad that you're going to be with us for as long as you're here. We're going to try to have a good time and do some fun things together.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, because one of the things kids do feel, like in divorce and things of this nature, is they feel rejected. Yeah, was it me? Did I cause the problem? Did mom and dad have to put me up for adoption because they didn't like me? Did I do something wrong? I can imagine just the whole host of, and I've had a lot of people on the show that they've gone and done the journey and either tried to find their parents or found their parents. And that's a mixed bag too. Some of the parents didn't want to be found. And, but you can see how there's this hole that is going to develop in them because they can't, they feel rejected.
Yeah.
And unloved. And I've got a friend right now who's going through a divorce, and it's harder on him because he grew up in foster care, being adopted and moving from family to family. And so for him, the divorce it opens up a childhood trauma wound. And I'm like, you really need to go sit down with that, because this is going to hurt worse. This is hurting you worse than most people. And divorce is pretty bad, not to minimize it. But what I'm trying to say is the trauma of it can be a lifelong effect that people have. And
Absolutely.
So having that love and care and support has got to be really, you probably do have some kids that come to you from trauma, either sexual or abuse, physical abuse, or there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on in drug homes, and maybe they were exposed to chemicals or something like that. So there's probably additional stuff you got to be, kind of wary of and things like that.
That's why you go through the training before you become a foster parent. They'll recommend books to you that about kids with trauma. And like I said, most kids, they might act out a little bit, but most kids respond to loving kindness, and they're going to appreciate that you're there for them, and that you're in their corner, so to speak, and you're going to take good care of them. The other misconception, I think, about foster care is people who love kids and think about doing foster care, oh, I'd be so sad when they left. You know what? If you have taken the time and you've made the effort to make them feel loved and cared for in your home, then you've done your job. And it's okay to feel sad when they leave, because if they're leaving and they're going back to their home, absolutely done a good job.
Yeah.
This is what is supposed to happen. They're supposed to go back to their parents. So if you've been that safe place for them to land in the interim, I think the first two kids we had, my husband and I, he cried when they rolled down the driveway with the social worker to go to their homes. It can pull on your heartstrings.
Yeah, because you kind of know them, you see the vision for them, and you want something to be good for them, and yeah, that can be hard. That's the one reason I love Huskies, and we went about a year and a half without Huskies because I need to have 2 hernia surgeries, and I just was not going to be chasing a puppy around with hernias. And what I'm chasing around now is this giant 50-pound puppy, but it's hard to give him back and let him go. But imagine that some of these, the indelible mark you're going to leave on a lot of these young people is going to impact them forever. I mean, I've had to sit down with children in my relationships and have to explain why mommy's an alcoholic and daddy's an alcoholic, and I'm here to balance things out, and your parents love you, but they're they have their own problems right now. But because they'll be like, why does mommy drink? And why does mommy get angry and hit? And you got to explain to them, your mom does love you, but there's things that they're going through, and then of course the kids, they don't understand any of this. They're just like, and a lot of them, they just think that's the way it is if they've lived in that situation for some time. And so seeing a healthy moving to a healthy situation, even if temporary, can give them a blueprint for, hey, there's some better ways to behave with children when you have them, and yada, yada, yada.
And that's what the Department of Children and Families does as well. Not only do they make sure the kids have a safe place, but they give the parents goals. They, sometimes their goal is parenting classes. Sometimes it's sobriety. Sometimes it's get a stable home. Your home isn't stable. You need to get a good living environment for these children. And once they move through those steps, that's what leads to reunification of these children, that they can go back home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and there's probably lots of foster children. There's probably more children than there are foster homes currently. Is that correct?
Oh, definitely, wow. There is. Wow. And like I said, this new book, My New Home and Me, it's also for blended families and, like I said, like kinship families and that kind of a thing. Yeah, I read a statistic that said only 60% of American children grow up in an intact mom and pop family. The other 40% are not growing up in that kind of a home. That could mean a divorce, that could mean foster care, adoption, some disruption in their home. And these are the kids that need us. These are the kids that need our help. And those families that are caring for those kids, they could use a hand. So if there's anything you can do for them, think about it. If you can volunteer in a foster closet, if you can just reach out, like I said, and give them a gift card or say, hey, can I come over and give you a hand at the house or whatever you need. We need a village to raise these kids.
Yeah. And as much support as you can. And a lot of older people too, maybe this is a really good thing for them. Since people are living longer and they're living older, they're getting more and more isolated because they can't. The kids, like you said, the kids move away and yada, yada, yada. And so just having other kids come in their life, as long as you keep busy in this world, you tend to live through retirement. What's that old thing about retirement? If you don't find something to do with yourself, you usually pass away in a few years or something like that of retirement. Because the body, the universe just goes, yeah, you're not breeding, you're not raising kids. We don't really, you're just hanging around, taking up space. We'll move you along. And that's the thing. But if you find something to do with your life when you retire and get an activity and a purpose, we're human beings. We're kind of purpose driven. We're always trying to find that next whatever meal. So, I know that I've seen a lot of elderly people suffer with being alone and not having friends and family. And the other thing, too, is when you get older, your friends and family, people tend to die away. You're not supposed to outlive your kids, but obviously people don't want to. But it happens sometimes, and your friends pass away. I'm going through that now in my late 50s. I just friends all over Facebook are falling over, and hopefully I won't. And you're just like, wow, okay. One of my friends used to tell me, and who worked for me years ago, he used to say, "There's 2 times in your life, Chris. There's the times where you get invited to a bunch of marriages." And he goes, then there's the next time in your life where you get invited to funerals. You watch all your friends disappear. And I'm like, man, that sounds like awful. And so you lose your friends. And so, bringing youth into the world. I bring a new puppy every 10 years or something like that, whatever it is, into my life. And boy, having something youthful can be challenging. But man, it'll give you a purpose, chasing them around and trying to care for them. But the love that you can get from them and the care, and I think the rewards of those great emotions and giving, being grateful, I think those are things that can really sustain you in life and probably help a lot of elderly folks that might be shut in or need help. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we all need community. And I think people die, and I think maybe dementia or Alzheimer's, there's probably some studies on it that if you alienate yourself, you tend to fade off quicker because you need that interaction with people. But they say that when we look each other on the faces, we interact with each other as human beings, our brains light up with all sorts of activity and stuff that we're reading going on. And if we're not doing that, then we're just sitting around, I don't know, drooling out the side of our mouth, looking at the TV, which I do on Fridays. So,
build relationships that enrich your life. We have a wonderful organization here on Cape Cod called Covenant for Care. They will train usually it's a senior senior citizen, go into a foster family house. They give you training and your Corey checked and all that sort of thing, and give the mom a hand and play with the kids for a little while. So the foster mom and the foster dad can put their feet up for 5 minutes. There's ways to help. And like you said, being engaged with other people, making these relationships, it just enriches your life. Now you've got some place to go. You've got a purpose. You have a friend. You have somebody who's glad to see you when you come to their home. Visit with you and visit with the kids. There's ways to help. And if you're looking for ways to help or way to be engaged in your community, think about reaching out and finding some organization in your area that is supportive of the foster care and adoptive community out there.
Yeah. Can they reach out to you? Do you do any consulting for this or anything like that?
I don't, but I'd be glad. I will talk night and day, any day of the week about foster care and adoption, any day of the week. It's such something that's so needed in our society. And it's very challenging, but it also brings you great joy to be able to do this. So yes, that they can reach out. I don't know if you're going to post my email. My email is on the back of all of my books. You can reach out to me anytime. I'm glad to talk about foster care and adoption. Like I said, day and night, 24/7. It enriches your life, and it's very, very needed in our society.
I think more people should do that. I think more people should. Plus, the great thing is if your current children or teenagers are acting up, like as they tend to do, teenagers, you can just trade them out. I would have had kids if I would have known this was an option. Because then I would have been like, hey, when you're 12, you're moving out. And we're going to trade you for some new 3-year-olds that are cute.
Yeah, that are happy to be here.
That are happy to be here.
Over there,
that attitude. Aren't crapping that attitude with dad.
The wonderful thing about foster care, like my husband and I started out, we did some very short-term foster care. You could name it. Say, I'm available from here to there, and then you can be that interim person. Also, the foster parents need a vacation. So sometimes you could do what's called respite care. So the foster parents are going to take a vacation without the kids. Can you have these kids for a week? Can you have them for a weekend? So there's ways to help where you are one-on-one with the kids. And then there's ways to help where it's more like the village is coming around and helping that family. There's lots of ways to get involved.
That's great. And shit, I could have had children like tires. You just change them every time they become teenagers, and you start over again. You're like, hey, what happened to 13-year-olds? They wouldn't mow the lawn and do the dishes and do all my gaming raids that I have to do every week on my gaming duty. So they had to go. But then I just go down to the adoption clinic and I go, hey, are you good at playing Call of Duty? Do you know how to do zombies really well? What's your kill ratio on Call of Duty? Okay, we're going to adopt you.
That's true too. For like, there's something called a visiting family resource. You could be that.
Oh yeah,
teenagers very definitely need that. They need somebody that's going to reach out and say, I'm going to take you out for the day, or we're going to go do some video games or something like that. And like you said, it's different from state to state, but look at what's out there. Look at what's available for you to reach out and be that person for a child that's going through something, and just give them that wonderful opportunity.
See, I can do that. I can be like, and when the kid goes, hey, I have some issues, can I talk to you about them? I'm like, that's what Call of Duty's for. You just go shoot stuff and kill it, and everything's fine. That's how I work my shit out, kid. Just like, clearly this is the reason why CPS has my number blocked. Or maybe we do need a trade out teenager service. I think there's some money here. I think we got some. I'm going to call Jeff Bezos and see what Elon Musk. Elon Musk is from South Africa. He's probably into child slave.
Oh my God.
We bash Twitter whenever we can. Anyway, Holly, thank you very much. Give people a final pitch out to pick up your book and your .coms.
Thank you. Yes, I'm on Instagram. I'm Holly Seaver, Holly Ralph Seaver. I'm on TikTok, Holly Seaver. There's a very robust society out there, or group of children's book authors, and we're out there supporting each other. I'm on Facebook, Holly Ralph Seaver. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, my email is holly.seaver@comcast.net. I will talk any day, anytime, about the need for foster care and adoption and people in our area that become a village.
All right. Sounds good then. I'm glad you're supporting the work and helping people see the big vision of things. Thank you very much, Holly, for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks to us for tuning in. Order per book wherever fine books are sold. My New Home and Me, and share the love and let people know. It's probably, this book is even great just for normal kids to understand different racial backgrounds, different makeups of different people, and why it's important to accept and all get along. Rising Tide lifts all boats, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTokity, and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, Holly, great job.